What are we doing today, Arch? Well, today we're going to talk about replacing the fuel line on this nice older Craftsman 5.0 horsepower, 5.5 horsepower Tecumseh. It's a 22-inch cut. And so we're going to do the fuel line on it. Now, on these Tecumseh motors, it's a bit of a problem because to get to the fuel line, right, you have to take off. In this case, you have the starter motor. You have to take off, right, the cover. And you got to take, obviously, you got to take the gas tank off, right? And it's a bit of a pain in the ass. Now, I want to show you why I'm going to do it this way. I'm going over the entire machine, and that's what we're going to talk about in a bit, why you would want to do it this way. But there is another way to do it, and so I want to show you it down in the description and make some references to. Wayne sent me over a nice description on how they do it over there at Eliminator Performance. And I've done it this way in the past, so I'm going to leave that down in the description. Also, Tarl had a nice video, same kind of procedure to just kind of chase out the fuel line. But I want to kind of get into this one, doing the fuel line, completely replacing the fuel line and getting in there and cleaning it. And there's good reasons for that, right? And so we're going to get into that. Well, why can't I just do it the easy way, Arch? Why do I have to fool around with taking everything apart and all? Well, you can do it that way, right? You can, but I want to get into doing it this way. And again, we'll discuss why, right? Why some of the reasons why we would do it. But just briefly, on this machine, we had a mouse nest up in here. And as soon as I ran the motor, it puked out all over the place. So we had to get in there in the first place. Let's fart test it, and then we'll pull this stuff off, and we'll spritz some more fuel in it and have some fun with it. Yay! A lot of crap came out. Where did all that crap come from? Right, to get all that out, because it is air cooled and it's up in the ignition. I wanted to make sure that the igniter wasn't damaged. And in the last video too, I think maybe the second part of the video, you'll see the customer's complaint, and I had complained about it right away, was when I went to pull start it, it kicked back. Oh boy. Oh, she's kicking. She's kicking back though. Oh yeah. So we want to find out why it's kicking back. We want to inspect the flywheel itself. We want to clean the flywheel. We want to go in there. This is an older machine. And let me just start with really kind of digging into this one point. It's an older machine. If your fuel line has deteriorated and it's leaking because it's no good, well, your machine's old. And you really need to get into your machine and probably give it a good once over. Why not, right? If it's your machine and it's something that hasn't been fully serviced, this is all easy stuff, and a lot of it is just cleaning and checking and testing and cleaning again, right? And just going over everything, lubricating, and making sure everything is right, and putting it all back together. It's not that hard to do. It's a snowblower, and it's a snowblower engine. I don't know, Arch. It seems like you're trying to get me to do a lot of stuff that I don't want to do. I don't understand. I don't know why I have to do all this stuff. Don't listen, he's cranky. You know, he's cranky this morning. He didn't have his Wheaties, whatever it is. You know, it's hard getting good help. But stop complaining. I want to cause a fight about whose way is better. There's different reasons for why you would want to do it. And on this machine, we really need to get in there. So let's go inside, get under the cover. We'll see what's going on with this machine, and I'll show you the way that I'm going to do it on this one. And again, like I said, check the description below. Wayne wrote up a really nice sort of breakdown on how to do it. I've done it a similar way. Tarl has his way. Bruce probably has his way. I don't know. Everybody has kind of covered this. But on this one, we really need to get in deep. So come on along, and let's get into this machine. All right, so I took this off. It's not too bad. We're going to take the carburetor off. We're going to take this off. I'm guarantee you that there's a nest in there because I got this thing pretty clean, and it was really dirty. It was probably sitting outside, and there's a mouse nest or something in there, and that's no good. It's air cooled, and it just can't be a good thing with as much puked out. Oh, it's stuck. Throttle's stuck. Okay. Yeah, it's jammed. All right, so we got to pull the carb anyway. Throttle is absolutely stuck. coming. Oh, guys, it's not, guys. Something's gonna spring out at it. I certainly hope not. Probably bring it outside. Why don't we bring it outside and we'll take it apart the rest of the way? It's gonna make a mess in here, and we gotta get it outside anyway. So I'm gonna shut you off. You guys are like, no! I'm like, yeah, because there's bugs and everything. Let me just bring this right outside, and we'll pop it off out there, and I'll show you what's going on. It's stuck. There we go. Should pull off. Oh yeah. It's not too bad, but it's bad enough. Let me get you in. See if it damaged the coil wire. It doesn't look like it did. I'm in your light. How do I get out of your light? Get out of the light, John. All right. See? Let's get that. Let me get my gloves. All right. So you guys get the idea. I'm gonna rinse this off. Good. Get in there. Good. We'll put some degreaser on it, and you know, just get everything nice and cleaned up. Right, and we'll bring it back in a little bit. Good. Now it's a little shadowy. Looks real good. Let it drip dry. We'll bring it in and let it dry later. All right, it's just a 3/8 bolt. All right, and I cut the shank off in the head, and that way we can slip it into the hose, right, and screw it in. And you'll see what I'm going to do with that in a minute. Right, so it's about that long, right? It's a few inches. We don't need much. So there's our hose stuck in there, and it's the keeper, right, the bracket that sort of holds it in place. So what I've done is I've taken, you can use coat hanger, but I have like these steel rods that I use for welding and other things. I shoved it in there, right? And I'm going to put a piece of tape here, and then we're going to see the length of the rod. Just shove it right in there, and we're going to put a piece of tape right there, and that's going to be the length of our hose, and we're going to cut that hose to that length. It's important that we know exactly the length. You don't want to be fooling around, right? This is a good way to save a step. Because if the hose is too short, you're screwed. If it's too long, you're going to be fighting it. Like this hose is a particular length because there just isn't enough room for any more or any less hose than what is here. So why reinvent the wheel? Let's just do it this way and move to the next step. Okay, so here's our mark, right? And so this is quarter line, but it's the outside diameter. I wanted to show you. If you can see that the tool in the fuel line is moving a little bit within the jaws, just a little bit here. And then this guy, this is good 1/4 inch line, but it's more like automotive line. I use it for quite a number of things. It's just a little bit thicker. And so we're going to avoid using this. See, it's just a little bit thicker. And the original line is closer to like a Briggs line. All right, so I'm actually going to pick up a spool of Briggs line. This is Gates line, and it's essentially the same thing. It's just a little bit thicker than the Briggs and Tecumseh line that was used, but not as thick as the spool. So you could still get away with it. You could pull it in, but listen, you want to make this as easy as possible. So I'm just going to kind of lay out my line on the table, right? That's what we want. If you want a little bit extra, right, for shrinkage, right, we can divot that. But that way we know that this is the line we're working with. We don't need any more or any less. Chamfer at the end just to make it a little bit easier to screw in. All right, I'll do it on the replacement piece first. And on the other end, I cut the like a fresh section of hose, you know, on the machine, the old hose, because the end was cut. Here we go. Spin that on. That's it. All right, let's take this over to the machine. All right, so let's just put a little bit of lube. All right, it'll all burn off. It's not bad for it anyway. All right, so we're going to pull with one end and push with the other and guide it. And let's just see. I'm going to stick my head through the handle here and just give it a pull and try to shove it. getting stuck. Hold on. One end is probably easier to do, though I'm thinking that the other end will be easier, right? Because we have this bracket over here, and this bracket over here is binding it up a little bit. So if we have to, we'll trade sides. And I'm beginning to think that it's just going to be just a little bit easier. Yeah, I think it will be. I think once you get past that point, though, yeah. All right, so what we're going to do, yeah, because it's easier if you do it from the other side. Yeah, he's having a hard way to go. Ow. I'm going to put some gloves on. This is sharp. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to reverse the procedure, and we're going to tie the new fuel line on in this end, because it really wants to go very easily up to about this point, and then I think we can grab it no problem with a pair of pliers. Okay, how easy it wants to go on this side, right? So we're going to work to our advantage. We're going to flip this over on the other side. And I don't even think we need the tape. I don't think it's going to do anything. All right, we'll be back in a minute. All right, guys, so I cut a little bit of junk off the end. This is cracked here, so hopefully it doesn't break. So that's, fuel tube is no good, and this is why I say, right, if the tube is no good because it's been oxidized and ozone's got at it, you might as well come in here and clean up your igniter, and we can check the key, clean this all off, we can regap it, make it nice, put an ohm meter on the coil, make sure everything is good to go there, and we'll lube the pull start. So now we're on this side, so let's just give it a bit of a shove, right, and a pull. See, right, let's move it in. There it goes. And he suggested you could put a little bit of silicone on. So, now we're going to fire all the guns. Why not, right? Now, like I said, I have done this before, but even with the cover off, right, it's still quite a bit to do. All right, I'm gonna get my gloves because this is sharp. So if I slip, I should really lower this down, but I have it up higher for the cameras. I can't get any really good leverage. All right, we're close. There it is. Almost. I might need a screwdriver. Yeah, probably. I think I need a screwdriver. I'll show you. Just right here, it's getting hung up. And I think just a nudge. Yep, just a nudge with a screwdriver. Just a nudge. That's where the tape might have helped. It's just a little edge here. Yep. It'll go. It's trying. Put a little lubricant right there. It's also where the rod is. Yeah, it's almost there. Once we get it past that point. Just kind of bend it a little bit. Just flex it. That's it. Done. All right. And I'll show you. I'll get a close up in a little bit. Voila. All right. So either way, right, you're going to have to do something like this to try to push it through. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting it. So both ways, right, are essentially part of one way. All right, guys, let me get to the next step. Take this off. This should come right off. And we have the correct length hose now, right? I'll spin that thing off, and I'm going to put, this hose is broken. You could use the old hose as a length guide, but unfortunately I had to cut pieces off. So we're going to use that rod. I'll keep that rod around and I'll tag it. And I just got to spin this guy off, so I'm going to put my vice grip on it and give it a turn. And we'll be back in a little bit. It's right. I want to show you where it was getting caught. And I was putting my screwdriver right in there. Right, it was just right here on the edge of the cover of the PCV valve. And once I just flexed a little bit with the screwdriver and gave it a pull, and just a little twist, it went. Yay! Alright, so we're just going to clean the coil and we'll recap it. And then we can start putting all this stuff back together again. Give me the plug wire. Come here, you. Make sure everything is clean and the connections are good, the grounds are good. And we won't have to come back in here for a long time. All right, I'm going to take the coil. Oh yeah, it's stuck. Look at that. It's rusted. I can't. It's got like a rust seal. That's what's bad. All right. All right, we'll get all wire wheeled up so that the connections here, when I say grounds, right, what I mean is the grounding to the body of the engine. Everything is grounded to that, and then the chassis. And then, I'll take my plug back. I'm going to clean this up here, right now. All right, I'm going to do the face. See, that's loose. That's no good. We're going to have to retighten that. Always want to check these. These are like the standoffs, and they also, we want to make sure that they're clean and that they're not loose, like this one. Okay, we'll put that back properly in a minute. That's good. Now the last one, on the last machine, this was really bad. And after I did all of that, okay, and put everything back nice, it wasn't having any problems starting. So there's a benefit to doing all of this. And if it's your machine, I think I really recommend it. Let me get the coil all set up and we'll put this back in a minute. All right, we're all cleaned up. Now let's just make sure this is tight, 7/16. That's good and tight. Let's make sure this one's good and tight. Yep. Okay. Come back here, you. Now I've got these lubed up. Just oil is all we need. Coil's nice and clean. All right, we don't have to check it with the ohmmeter. You might want to check out my video. I have a couple of one video's coming out and one's already been out and it's popular, but I got a better one coming out. It's nice and clean in here, and the video that I have is I go through like a couple hundred coils of different manufacturers, and I tell you what the ohm readings are. Let's put a little bit of something on that. White grease works good usually, but we're just going to put a little bit of regular grease on. You know, make sure it's clean. There's nothing, no metal shards. And if you want, you can put a little bit on the coil. All right, white grease is probably better, but I had this out. All right, it'll keep it from rotting again, because it's, you know, this is all in wet environment. And salt too. And hang the coil. And we're just gonna kind of finger tight these bolts. And here's a tip, right? You don't want to strip these, so you want to make them tight, but you don't want to strip them. And if you have an issue with a Briggs, these bolts are just a little bit bigger. And sometimes you can actually kind of get them to work on a Briggs if you screw up or you find one that somebody screwed up. So it's just kind of up out of the way. And we're going to line up the magnets. So we got lined up. We'll put our 10,000ths in there. You can go to 12. Just loosen the coil. Let it drop down and tighten it up. Now they are laminates. Now these laminates are pretty tight. I find on the Briggs they take a little bit more effort to collapse all the laminates together. So to be fair, I'll take my stubby 1/4" drive and just give them a check. Now that won't go anywhere. Get my gauge back. Plug the coil wire in, the kill wire, and we're done. Let's move to the next step. Okay, so to deal with this, right, you could replace this hose, right, but we're just going to patch it because it's just a little bit of damage on the end. And that's not even really that bad, but we're going to replace that section. You could replace the whole thing. If it was bad, then yeah, I would recommend it. Now, a couple of things we're going to do to this. These things fit really tight, especially in the bolt hole areas, because that's where it's been collapsed, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to flex it just a little bit. And I'm just going to grab with my pliers and just pull away, just to kind of bell mouth this thing a little bit more in the problem areas. All right, and otherwise you'll be fighting it. There we go. Again, mostly in the bolt areas down here. All right. Now that should help. And then if you want, we'll bell mouth just the edges a little bit. Just flex it. All right. Okay. Now, last thing. All right, probably the last time, I like to use a good chain wax or chain lube. Running out. All right, get some in there. Get some in the pole area. And a lot of these, there's a hook area where the spring stay is, and it's over here. You're not going to be able to see it, but you'll see it, the hook of the spring. So we're going to shove our hose, try to fill that area up a little bit, and now pull it through all the way. Oh, that feels nice. All the way to the end. All right, and that's going to wax up, so it's not going to cause a problem. It's not. There's no dirt to collect, and you got to put something in it. And again, I wash these, and it was spiders crawling out of it and everything. All right, let's go put this on the machine. Now, instead of the grease, right, you could also put your chain wax on, right, and that'll protect the gears and the magnet. And this stuff is like Cosmoline, right, and this will give it a little bit of lubrication. And you could spray, you know, we could even spray the coil and all of that too. Just, you know, as an example. That's one of the nice things about this product. All right, now to put this on, right, it's going to be a bit of work, right, but we should have made our lives a little bit easier. So we just kind of want to lay it on here. We have to get everything sort of lined up. All right, and we got all the tins to deal with, and you take a bit of work, and you got to line that up, and probably going to need to get this guy. Goes on the top. It's almost there. I get my little mallet. Sometimes my little rubber mallet helps. This is on. This is almost on this side. And that. All right. So my left side's on, and this side's almost on. And so this goes over, and this goes under. Okay. So one's over, one's under. I'm here, you. Okay. So one's over, one's under. And we're basically there, all right? Let me bolt it down. I'll show you what's next after we get the bolts in. Lubricate all the bolts. So the head bolts, put in oil, clean the threads. And these down here, I'm gonna put a little, the ones that go with these two, I'm gonna put a little bit of no-sees on. Now, let me get that started, and then we'll come up in the top, and I'll talk about what we wanna do up top. All right, so these are just, you know, they're not tight, right? The bottom bolts are just on there. And I ran these on the wire wheel. And then I just lubricate them with oil. And we're going to hand tighten them because you can't torque, because there's the other bolts. A lot of these bolts, when they came out, they were very corroded. The threads get corroded. Torquing isn't going to do you any good. You're not going to get a proper torque reading. It's just a guess at that point. And I've said this before, you could wind up breaking a bolt, especially on Briggs engines, but not so much on these, but definitely on Briggs. Well, if you want to take all the rest of the bolts off and risk breaking one, right, and have it, now you're done. So if you want to do that, and then you can take the head off and clean it, and you can clean the gasket surface, and you can clean the gasket surface on the engine block. You can get a fresh gasket. You can even take a ball hone and go in there and just do a quick hone, and then put everything back together, and then you torque it, right? Then you'll be good to go, and you'll have a nice job. But you don't need to do that. This is a lawnmower engine, right? This isn't. It's a lawnmower slash Tecumseh snowblower engine. It's nothing fancy. It's just an engine. It's not your motorcycle. It's not your custom car. It's not the car you drive every day. This will be fine, all right? And then you know what? If it blew a head gasket after this, right? Everything else is done, and you've got a serviced machine, and then you go in there and it's a blown head gasket. And then if you have no choice, either you go in there and you fix it at that point, and you restore the service, the engine life and service back to the machine, or, right, it's done. And if you break a bolt trying to service a blown head gasket, well, then it's done, right? So this is a better way to go about doing it. So let's just tighten it. Now we can still kind of use something of a torque pad. I'm going to go slow and just pull everything back in. And the thing is, I've been doing this for a long time, so see, that one was a little crunchy. So I can feel it. Yeah, that one's jammed in there. All right. Now let's just bring it up nice. I got my 3/8 wrench. Yeah, I gotta get this thing tightened up. Could you torque just these bolts? I suppose, right? But it's not really torquing the whole head. The idea isn't that you're torquing the bolt. The idea is that you're pulling the whole sandwich together and you have an even force as best as possible so that you don't leak and don't cause leaks in the future. And everything seals up. Now on new engines, and I've done this, it actually goes by bolt stretch, which is a very different kind of thing. That feels good. That feels good. That's feeling good. All right, one more time, I think. Maybe one more. I can kind of feel it. That one's good. Yeah, that one made it. Yeah, she's still pulling in. And this one, these here, you're actually pulling in another sandwich, right? You're pulling in this bracket and that other piece. That feels good. Going good. This one I'm not going to try to get out because it could snap the bolt that's holding this top piece in. That all feels really good. That's nice and tight. It's trying to compress the sandwich. Yeah. That's beautiful. Done. Okay. I'll check this one more time. Done. All right, we tighten up the side bolts, and we're done with that. We'll move to the next step. bring it up a little bit more. Restart. Just want to check real quick. And then we have other stuff to do. So far so good. All right, sounds good. We got to get oil in it. We got to get good oil in it. Let me get out of here. It's nasty in here. We'll get the oil out now. All right, what do you think, guys? Then that's it. So this is my tool now. So this is the correct length of hose for it to come. And this is that little piece that I made, the 5/16, 3/8, whatever. It's like 3/8. I don't know, maybe it's 5/16. I don't care, right? I just took a piece of, all I did was I took a bolt, cut the head off as you saw, shoved it in there, get the bolt hole that, bolt size that's going to fit in the hole, right? It's 1/4" tubing. So 3/8 or 5/16. 5/16 is probably better because if you make the bulge too big, you're going to have a problem getting it through. Uh-oh. There's a joke in that one. So I'm going to hang this up. Put a little label on it. Just going to hang it up on my tool thing over there. And now I've got this piece. I want to say thank you to Eliminator for the nice description. And again, like I said, I'm going to put that down in the description. And we kind of followed what he suggested, and along with everybody else that's done it. The point here is, in this case, I need to get in, right, anyway. So, again, I don't want to beleaguer that point. But even when you're in here, you still need to make something to help you out, right? You still kind of have to take the tips and tricks that everybody kind of does, and is down in the description, to help you get the new line through. And that's just all there is to it. Now, whether or not you take that cover and all that stuff off is up to you. I got to continue moving forward. I think maybe in this video I might add one little part of putting the gas tank back on and a quickie test. But on this machine, we have other work to do. So I'm going to keep moving forward with that, and that is a separate video, so stay tuned for that one. And please come back and check out some of the other videos. And again, a shout out to everybody that has been liking and subscribing and commenting. It's just totally awesome. And I will see you guys on the next one.